What is going on, Colts Nation? And welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Your guy, Cody, here. And guys, with the 2022 season nearly upon us, wanted to kind of briefly talk about, in my opinion, 5 things the Indianapolis Colts need to do this season for me to consider it a successful 2022. So just want to preface this by saying I'm not going to go crazy and say the Colts have to win the Super Bowl or else blow this whole thing up. I wanted to kind of keep it realistic, but also keep it fair and keep the expectations high for this team, because I do feel like this is a very talented team, and as such, they need to be held accountable for it, and the standard needs to be high. So with that being said, I wanted to start out simple and say something the Colts were not able to do last year, thanks to their awful 2 last games and also 3 blown leads. The Colts were not able to get into the playoffs last year. After looking poised at a 9-6 record, the Colts obviously blew the last 2 games and then sat out of the playoffs at a 9-8 record. So the Colts got to get back to where they were in 2020. They got to get back to the playoffs in some shape or form. I think that's definitely non-negotiable with how talented this team is. The additions they've made, not just with the coaching staff, but also with the players as well. I think the Colts, the expectation is playoffs are the bare minimum for this team. But I'm going to take it even a step further from my number 2 point, guys, and say the Indianapolis Colts have to win the division, right? I feel like out of all the years in the last probably decade where the Colts have really struggled, they haven't won, I believe, since 2014. Since then, I really do feel like, guys, this is one of the most achievable times for this team to win the division, right? Tennessee has lost a couple talented guys, whether they trade him away or whether, like Harold Landry, tore his ACL out for the year. So the Titans have 2 of their key players that were big factors in their team, being the number 1 seed last year, out, right? Derrick Henry's coming back from an injury. Didn't really look great in that playoff game. And the Colts added some guys. So I feel like this is the year where the Colts need to take the division, not just make the playoffs, take it a step further, and win the division for the first time since 2014. If they don't do that, I don't know, guys. It's not really a success to me, unless, of course, they go on a Super Bowl run. Maybe we'll talk then. But I think division has to be something the Colts strive to get this year. And I think it's really, really attainable this year. I don't think it's very out of the realm of possibility for them to win the division this year. So that's the second one for me, guys. And the third one's kind of like it. They got to get the monkeys off their back. Talking about the division, a couple other things as well. The Colts under Frank Reich have never won week 1. Ever. You can look back at it. They've come close a couple times, but they've never been able to pull it through. So this year, the Indianapolis Colts have to win week 1, right? Because you're playing probably your weakest opponent you've ever played in the Reich era with the Houston Texans. You blew out the Texans twice last year. You kicked their butts last year, right? You cannot go into this game and lose this game. You cannot start off another season sour. You absolutely cannot. This team has way, way, way too many times has been behind the 8 ball because they come out really, really lethargic, right? They lose the first 1, 2, 3 games of the season, and then they're already behind. No wonder they haven't won the division. They can't win week 1, and also in another one, they can't win in Jacksonville. The Colts have not won in Jacksonville since, I believe, 2014 as well, right? I don't care how bad Jacksonville is, right? Jacksonville was one of the worst teams in football the last 2 years. They've only had, 2 or 3 wins the last 2 years combined? Guess what 2 of those wins are? Against the Colts in Jacksonville. The Colts need to, and they have a great opportunity here to get both these monkeys off their back, right, in weeks 1 and week 2, and they have to do it. They absolutely have to. There's no negotiables anymore. You have to win these 2 games, right? With 2 opponents who, guys, you are miles better than at this point. You have to beat them. You have to beat them. Not just beat them, you have to kick their butts. You have to. You have to set a tone for this season. It's not going to be like last year, right? Remember, Colts, what it tasted like, that defeat last year. They have to remember that. They cannot lose sight of, it's just Houston, or, it's just Jacksonville. That kind of mindset, guys, is the reason why you sat out of the playoffs last year. You got lazy. You got lethargic. You didn't hold each other accountable. What have you done? You've gotten guys like Matt Ryan. You've gotten guys like Yannick Ngakoue. You've added to the coaching staff. You've gotten former greats, guys that have really helped this team achieve some really good things, right? Okay, now you've done all these things on paper. It looks good, right? Okay, well, talk is cheap. You got to go out there and do it. If the Colts can do this, I think this is a major, major win. Just a lot of it, I feel like it's just a mental thing at this point, right? The Colts just need to get in their heads that they can do these things because they can. They can. They need to get out of their own head sometimes. And so if they're able to win week 1 and week 2, that'll go a long way for this season and will put them ahead of the 8 ball for the first time in the Reich era, honestly. So really hoping that they will do that. That would be a major, major success for me as well.
What's going on, everybody? Today, I'm introducing our new sponsor, Homefield, a premium collegiate apparel brand out of Indianapolis that has incredibly comfortable, officially licensed apparel with vintage college designs. Homefield, being a local brand to Indianapolis, is partnering with the Indianapolis Colts to bring you a new collection of Colts apparel. This is Homefield's first NFL collection. They're super excited to be involved with the Indianapolis Colts, and we're excited to help promote their new designs. They have 6 new designs. They have a hooded sweatshirt, crew neck, 2 different tees, joggers, and a jacket. Now, if I say so myself, I'm definitely going to be rocking the sweatshirt and the joggers, guys, because they look extremely comfortable, and I'm definitely going to need them for the fall and winter season. It's the perfect collection to have for you guys to kick off the NFL season. It is going to be launching August 27th at 12 p.m. Eastern, so be on the lookout for it. And if this is already passed, make sure to go check out the Homefield site and be able to get yours today. New customers can get 15% off their first purchase from Homefield with the code BRINGTHEJUICE at checkout at homefieldapparel.com. Make sure to go check out their website, guys, and catch your Colts apparel.
And I got to talk about also, I talked about it briefly at the beginning. You cannot go out there and blow leads, right? Because you think about all the leads the Colts blew last year. I mean, so many leads. They only technically blew 3 leads, but it felt like there was a lot more. Last year, they blew a lead against the Baltimore Ravens. We all know, went to overtime. The Colts blew that lead. They just needed to get one defensive stop, and a bunch of random stuff happened in that game. And the Colts end up losing that game in just a heartbreaker. Everybody was getting injured. It was terrible. They blew the one against the Tennessee Titans at home, right? We all know the infamous Carson Wentz left-handed pass. And then they blew the one in Tampa against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. When the Tampa Bay Buccaneers came to town, Colts were up by 10 at halftime. They went and blew that lead. So you think, man, if they would have at least won 1 or 2 of those games, they would have been in the playoffs no problem. We wouldn't be talking about Jacksonville, right? So the Colts cannot afford to blow leads, right? They showed that with Tampa Bay, with Baltimore, some teams that a lot of people would consider some of the best in the NFL, the Colts were not just winning, they were beating these teams down. But what they do, they let their foot off the gas, right? They weren't able to finish these teams. They need to just finish these teams, right? I'm fine if they jump out to 10, 20-point leads, whatever it is. But they need to finish. They need to prove that they belong with the AFC's elite. And if they can do that, I think it'll go a long way. And I think that kind of feeds into the last one I want to talk about as well, guys, is you need to show noticeable improvement at some of those positions that you struggled in last year. I'll talk about passing game, right? You need to have more balance on offense. You can't be relying on Jonathan Taylor. As good as he is, it's foolish, right, to just rely on him and get completely off balance like you were late last year, get way too predictable, and then you're in trouble down the stretch because defenses will adjust and they will know exactly what you're doing. And also just pass rush, right? You put a lot of emphasis in getting better at the pass rush, right? You got a defensive coordinator who's known for getting better pass rush, right? You traded for Yannick Ngakoue. You've done some of these things and really hoping that your pass rush is going to get better. You hope guys like Kwity Paye, Dayo Adangbo, some of these other guys are going to really in this scheme thrive. You need to show noticeable improvement there as well, right? Those were 2 of the main ones that you really struggled in last year. I would throw in maybe with the passing game, some of the wide receivers need to step up as well. That was kind of a weakness of this team last year. Those are the 2 main ones. There's a couple other ones we could probably talk about, but in my mind, you need to show noticeable improvement because you put noticeable resources towards these things to get them improved this year, right? So that's kind of what I have there for that one. And guys, that'll do it for kind of my 5 things that I need to see from the Indianapolis Colts in order to consider it a really successful 2022 season. Guys, at the end of the day, Colts need to make the playoffs. That's kind of the bare minimum. But if they can win the division and they can do some of these other things as well, it's going to go a long way for their chances to potentially compete for that Lombardi in February. All right, guys, let me know your thoughts on these 5 points. Like I talked about, are there any other things that you guys personally want to see from the Indianapolis Colts to count this 2022 season as a roaring success? Let me know these things in the comments below, guys. But thank you guys so much for all your support. We're really excited for this 2022 season. It's going to be a fun one, hopefully, and hopefully the Colts win a lot of games this year, right? And we have a lot of positive energy this year, and the Colts maybe, who knows, maybe they can make a run in the playoffs this year. They certainly have the talent to do so. Let's see if they can put it on paper and they can go do it. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, guys, go Colts.